There is a moment in every life when the noise of the world grows unbearable, when the chaos outside collides with the confusion within, and a voice you've ignored for far too long finally screams to be heard. Why are you here? Not what you do, not what they told you, not what pays the bills or pleases the crowd, but why? Are you here? That question will haunt you until you answer it. That question is the threshold. On the other side of it lies the truth, not a comfortable truth, but a consuming one. Because once you discover your purpose, your definite purpose, everything else either aligns with it or dies. You don't stumble into greatness. You don't accidentally become legendary. No one drifts to the summit of their potential. Every titan, Carnegie, Edison, Disney, Jobs, they were pulled, driven, possessed by a purpose so clear it burned through every obstacle like fire through dry grass. They weren't more talented than you, they weren't luckier, they were decided, they found their reason. And they made it non-negotiable. You see, life bends for the mind that is fixed. The man who knows exactly what he wants is a force of nature. You can't stop a river once it knows its course. It will carve through mountains, devour stone, split valleys wide open just to keep flowing. That's what purpose does to the human spirit. When you know what you're here to do, you don't ask for permission. You don't wait for approval. You don't check the temperature of the room before you act. You move with the certainty of destiny. Most people live like leaves in the wind, tossed by opinion, swayed by fear, distracted by every passing trend. But the man of purpose, he's the storm. He doesn't chase opportunity, he creates it, because he knows why he exists, and he refuses to apologize for it. Understand this, a definite purpose is not a wish. It is not a vague desire or a polite intention. It is a white-hot obsession forged in silence, fed by hunger, and held in the grip of unwavering belief. And belief is everything. If you cannot see it in your mind, you will never hold it in your hand. You must live from the vision, not toward it. You must act as if your purpose is already fulfilled, because until you do, the world will mirror your doubt. Thoughts are the architects of reality. What you dwell upon, you attract. What you fear, you empower. What you believe, you become. So choose your beliefs the way a warrior chooses his weapons, with care, with clarity, and with conviction. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. And what you are is a direct result of what you believe. But belief alone is not enough. Purpose must become the compass that governs your every decision. It must filter who you speak to, what you spend time on, what you consume, what you tolerate, and what you reject. Without that compass, your energy leaks, your time fractures, your power fades. But when everything flows from one central aim, you become unstoppable. Not in theory, but in practice, because clarity sharpens the blade of your focus. And with that blade, you cut through distractions. You silence the noise. You ignore the critics, the doubters, the ones who gave up on their own dreams and now feel threatened by yours. You don't need to convince them. You don't need them to understand. You just need to keep moving. Forward, always forward. Purpose doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It means you won't be controlled by it. It means when the fear rises, you rise higher. Because the man of purpose does not flee from the storm. He walks into it, eyes open, spine straight, fists clenched, knowing the storm was sent to forge him, not to break him. Every hardship becomes fuel. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every delay becomes preparation. Because purpose turns pain into power. It turns struggle into strength. And when the world says no, the man of purpose doesn't shrink. He builds his own door, his own stage, his own kingdom. He doesn't seek comfort, he seeks conquest. And here's the truth they won't tell you. The universe responds to boldness, not arrogance, boldness. The kind of boldness that comes from knowing who you are, why you're here, and what you will not leave this life without achieving. When you declare your purpose, life listens. When you commit to it with everything you have, life opens. Doors appear, allies emerge, resources arrive. But none of it comes to the man who hesitates. None of it bows to the man who doubts. Only the definite of purpose, the resolute, the relentless, the unshakable will ever command their destiny. Everyone else will be spectators, commentators, bystanders in the arena of their own lives. Then listen closely, because once you've tasted the raw fire of purpose, mediocrity becomes unbearable. You can no longer sit in rooms where dreams are mocked. You can't laugh at small talk while your spirit screams for expansion. You begin to feel it, the pull, the discontent, the deep sense that you were not born to blend in, but to build. Not to follow, but to forge. Not to survive, but to summon something from the invisible into the visible. To bring your vision into form no matter the cost. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. When your purpose is true, it doesn't inflate your ego. It annihilates it. Because purpose demands sacrifice. It demands that you let go of everything that is not rooted in destiny. And that includes comfort. That includes approval. That includes your old self. The one who played small, hesitated, second-guessed, and waited for signs. The signs were always there. The fire in your gut was the sign. And now it's time to follow it. Make no mistake, your purpose will not always feel good. It will not always be convenient. You'll lose sleep. You'll lose people. You'll be misunderstood, misquoted, mocked. But what you gain will outweigh it all. Because when your life is built on purpose, even your suffering has meaning. Even your losses shape you. There is nothing more dangerous than a man with nothing to prove but everything to build. And that man is you when you finally say yes to what you've known all along. You were meant for more. Not more money, more status, more applause. Those things are fine, but they are not the goal. They are the side effects of a soul on fire. The real goal is impact, legacy, evolution. The inner knowing that when your time is done, the world was altered because you lived in it. That you didn't just exist, you executed. You didn't just talk, you transformed. You didn't just wish, you willed it into being, but you must become ruthless with your attention, ruthless with your environment, ruthless with your habits, because your purpose will not compete for your attention. It will sit silently, waiting to be chosen. And every time you betray it, every time you numb it with distraction, every time you delay it with excuses, every time you hide it beneath false humility, you shrink your soul. And there is no greater tragedy than a soul that has grown small inside a life that looks successful. That's not purpose. That's performance. That's pretending. And you weren't born to pretend. You were born to penetrate the surface of this world, to dig deep, to rise high, and to live fully aligned with the power that put you here. And that power, whether you call it God, Source, the universe, or something deeper, did not send you here to blend in with the crowd. It sent you to move them. Clarity is the first weapon. Until you are clear on your purpose, every path will seduce you, every option will tempt you, and indecision will become your prison. But when clarity arrives, when you define what it is you're truly here to build, to create, to become, then you walk different. You talk different. You no longer chase validation. You don't look sideways. You look forward. Eyes locked on the future that only you can see. That's the curse and the blessing of vision. No one else sees it until you build it. But that's your job. That's your burden. That's your fire. Purpose makes the invisible visible. But it begins in the dark. It begins when you decide that your life is not random, that your breath has weight, that your gifts are not accidents, that your instincts are not irrelevant. You must claim that truth before the world reflects it. So stop apologizing for wanting more. Stop justifying your hunger. Stop diluting your dreams for the comfort of others. A definite purpose is not selfish. It is sacred. Because when one man finds his purpose, he gives the world permission to find theirs. When one woman refuses to settle, she becomes a lighthouse for those lost in the fog of conformity. This is how revolutions begin, not with armies, but with a single soul who decides that average is no longer acceptable. Are you willing to be that soul? Are you willing to be misunderstood for the sake of something greater? Are you willing to be alone, to be disciplined, to be obsessed? Because your purpose will not wait forever. Time doesn't pause for the hesitant. Time rewards the decided. Then listen, because the world is not changed by those who dabble. It is changed by those who devote. There is a brutal elegance to commitment. It cuts away the unnecessary. When you commit to a definite purpose, you stop entertaining alternatives. You stop dancing with doubt. You become dangerous to mediocrity. You no longer seek balance. You seek alignment. Balance is for those who wish to keep everything. Alignment is for those willing to burn what doesn't belong. And in the furnace of purpose, only what's essential survives. You will feel the heat of isolation, of uncertainty, of pressure, but it is that very heat that forges greatness. Do you think Lincoln was balanced when the Union was fracturing? Do you think Ford was balanced when he was told the automobile was a passing fad? Do you think Elon Musk was balanced when he bet his last dollar on rockets and electric cars? They were possessed. Possessed by a vision that gripped them tighter than fear ever could. That's what a definite purpose does. It takes over. You don't need to be extreme to be effective, but you do need to be clear. Because if you aren't, the world will define your life for you. It will assign you goals. It will tell you what's possible. It will measure your worth by its standards, not yours. And if you allow that, you will one day wake up successful by their definition and empty by your own. That is the slow death, the death of authenticity, the death of potential. And purpose is the cure, not just for ambition, but for your soul. When you move from a place of deep, unshakable reason, when every action echoes your why, you move differently. You command time instead of reacting to it. You create momentum instead of chasing it. You radiate conviction instead of seeking it. Because the world follows the man who knows exactly where he's going. This is why discipline becomes effortless when it is rooted in purpose. You don't have to force yourself to stay the course when you know where the course leads. You don't need constant motivation when your mission burns in your bones. Motivation is fleeting, but purpose is permanent. Purpose doesn't shout. It pulls. It whispers in the silence. It wakes you up when the world is still asleep. It keeps you building long after the applause has faded. It makes the grind sacred, the repetition holy, the sacrifice meaningful. Because you're not just working, you're becoming. Every action is a vote for the future you've already seen. Every rep, every email, every late night and early morning is a brick in the cathedral of your destiny. And that cathedral will not build itself. It waits for no man. But it will rise, if you rise. And when you do, you'll realize something strange happens. The more you align with your purpose, the less you need to explain yourself. Because purpose is not a performance. It doesn't beg for validation. It doesn't need applause to keep breathing. It moves in silence. It shows up in your habits. It's seen in your work, your walk, your energy. Real purpose is magnetic. People feel it before you speak. They sense that you are not like the rest, that you are not looking for the easy road, but for the right one. And they will either be drawn to you or intimidated by you, but they will not be able to ignore you. This is the paradox of purpose. It sets you apart, even as it connects you to something greater than yourself. It isolates you from the noise, but unites you with destiny. It makes you a warrior in a war few can see, a war against doubt, against mediocrity, against everything in you that wants to settle. But in that war, you are not alone. Every great man, every giant whose shoulders you now stand upon, fought that same war. They bled for their vision. They sacrificed for their cause. They walked through fire, not because they enjoyed pain, but because they refused to leave this world unchanged. They had a reason. And so do you. Maybe you buried it. Maybe you've forgotten it. But it is still there, breathing beneath the surface, waiting for your courage to awaken it. So awaken it, dig it up, dust it off, look it in the face, and decide that this is the moment you stop living by default and start living by design. The moment you stop drifting and start driving. The moment you stop watching and start building. Because no one is coming to hand you your purpose. No one is going to force you to rise. That burden and that honor is yours alone. Then let's keep going, because your time is not infinite, and your potential will not wait forever. Every second you hesitate, someone else moves. Every moment you delay, the world forgets. And that's the tragedy, isn't it? Not that we die, but that we live numb. That we let the days pass in a blur of routine, distraction, and excuses, while the fire inside flickers, waiting for oxygen. But hear this now. That flame is not gone. It never left. It simply needs your decision. It needs you to declare, not wish, not hope, not whisper. I declare with everything in your being, this is who I am. This is what I'm here to do. And no fear, no failure, no force on earth will keep me from it. That kind of declaration shifts reality. It rearranges your mind. Your chemistry changes. Your posture changes. You stop needing things to be easy. You stop begging for perfect conditions. You stop outsourcing your power to the opinions of those who never had the courage to dream. Because now you are the one setting the tone. You are the one writing the script. And yes, it will be hard. It must be. Growth is not handed. It is harvested. You will be tested. You will question. You will fail. But your purpose doesn't shrink in failure, which it sharpens. Each time you fall, it carves your edges. Each time you rise, it strengthens your spine. This is not punishment, it's preparation. The universe does not give the throne to the unproven. It waits to see who can hold it without breaking. And your struggles? They are proof that you are becoming the kind of person who can. Look back through time. Every titan you admire, Carnegie, Edison, Mandela, King, Disney, they were not born ready. They were not handed destiny. They were made through friction, through fire, through years of obscurity, ridicule, and relentless discipline. Do you think Walt Disney didn't suffer when he was fired for lacking imagination? Do you think Edison didn't ache through 10,000 failed attempts to invent the light bulb? Do you think Martin Luther King didn't feel fear as he stood against hate armed with nothing but vision and voice? Of course they did. But they kept moving. They kept believing. They kept becoming. Because their purpose was louder than their fear. And now, we speak their names with reverence. Yet not because they were lucky, but because they were driven. Unapologetically, unrelentingly, defiantly. That is what you must become. Not a follower of trends. Not a seeker of shortcuts. But a force. A presence so rooted in your vision that the world has no choice but to bend around it. This isn't ego. This is execution. The kind of execution that wakes you up at 4 a.m., not because an alarm told you, but because your vision did. The kind of focus that makes you say no to good things because great things are calling. The kind of resilience that doesn't flinch when the crowd goes quiet, when the numbers dip, when the storm comes. Because storms don't scare you anymore. They shape you. You were made for storms. You were made to walk through them, not around them. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. Not talent, not connections, not resources, but resolve. The willingness to suffer for your purpose. The obsession to keep showing up long after the hype has died. And in that showing up, you change. You become something more than what you once were. Your name starts to carry weight. Your presence starts to open doors. Not because you chased opportunity, but because you became the kind of person opportunity chases. This is the magic of purpose. It rewires your identity. You don't try to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You don't chase passion. You embody it. You don't ask for confidence. You earn it through consistent, aligned action. And that action, that is your offering to the world. That is your legacy in motion. Every single day you live on purpose. You deposit value into the future. Every single day you are writing history. So write it well. Write it boldly. Let your days be chapters of defiance and defiance against laziness, against fear, against the small version of yourself that still doubts. Let your life be a message, not a question mark. And let that message be this: I came here to build, to rise, to lead, to serve, and to leave no doubt that I was here. Then here it is, the ending. Not as a conclusion, but as a summons. Because this isn't the end of the speech. It's the beginning of your revolution. The moment you stop listening and start doing. The moment you stop admiring the mountain and climb it. You have everything you need. Not in your bank account, not in your resume, but in your will. In the unyielding decision to live for something greater than comfort, greater than applause, greater than yourself. That is the power of a definite purpose. It calls you to rise even when the world tells you to settle. It silences doubt, not by force, but by clarity. It turns obstacles into architects, and it dares you to live in such a way that the world feels your presence, not just hears your words. You don't need to know how the entire path will unfold. You only need to begin. Begin with fire. Begin with faith. Begin with the kind of energy that makes the ground beneath you tremble. Every master was once a beginner. Every legend was once a nobody with a dream. The difference wasn't luck, it was direction. They moved with intent. They lived with conviction. They understood that time is the most precious currency and purpose is the only true wealth. You want confidence? Build it with action. You want clarity? Carve it with movement. You want legacy? Earn it with decisions that echo beyond your life. Because when you live on purpose, something remarkable happens. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. You stop chasing validation and start creating value. You stop wondering if you're enough and start becoming more than enough. Not just for you, but for everyone who's watching. Your children, your team, your future self. You don't rise alone. When you elevate, others are pulled upward too. And maybe, just maybe, your courage gives them permission to chase their own purpose. Maybe your fire lights 1,000 others. And that is the ripple effect of a life well lived. Not safe, not silent, but significant. So what now? Now you rise. You plant your feet in the soil of your mission and say, "This is who I am. This is why I came. And I will not leave this world untouched." Not by force, but by fire. Not by noise, but by presence. Not by chance, but by choice. You are not here to pass time. You are here to make it count. To stamp your name on this moment in history. To carve meaning into every breath you take. This is your time. This is your test. This is your turn. So rise with purpose. Move with precision. Speak with power. Build with boldness. And live in such a way that when your name is spoken, it does not echo, it roars. Because you were a person of definite purpose, and the world never forgets those who dared to live like that.